Boyfriend, Teenage Love. Written by Vella Jamar. Narrated by Deja, Nance. Chapter 13. I had known Diana since we were in the 7th grade and we started hanging more. Her aunt was very strict, looking out for her best interest, of course. But kids want to have fun sometimes. During Easter vacation, there were a number of party events going on the entire week. Diana wanted to go to them all. In order to go out, we waited for her aunt to fall asleep, and then we'd steal out of the house to attend whichever one we chose to go to for the evening. It was kind of like the Cinderella story, except instead of coming home at midnight, we left before that time, making sure her aunt was asleep prior to our leaving. She, her sister Audrey, and I stole away all week and continued on a bit after the break was over on Friday and Saturday nights. We had ourselves a ball the entire vacation. Eventually, their aunt discovered our stealing off into the night. One evening after we walked out, she opened the front door and asked them where they were going. She gave them an ultimatum to come in and stop partying or stay gone. They both opted to leave and ended up coming over my house for a few days. They didn't know where to go. I don't remember how I got in the house that night, but we zipped to my room and went to sleep. Boy, was my mother surprised when she woke up the next morning and found 2 extra bodies in our house. About a week later, she called me downstairs after talking to their aunt and said there was no room in our house, though I felt there was. I could have shared my room. Furthermore, she said she couldn't understand why they left home when they had a roof over their heads. I didn't have to say anything when I went back upstairs. They both heard. I felt really bad. We hung out the rest of the day. They ended up going to their sister Shay's house, who lived in Easter Hill with her longtime boyfriend and their 4 kids. Shortly afterwards, they moved with their more stable sister, Natasha, who lived across the street from their grandmother. Audrey finished the school year and went to Sacramento to live with their uncle and his wife to complete high school. One Friday evening, we found ourselves at the annual school dance. The dancers were ready to show off their various dance routines. We were thoroughly enjoying the show when Diana, who had consumed a beer earlier, started getting loud. She was apparently having a very good time as the effects of the alcohol took a toll. She was embarrassing us, so Audrey and I changed seats, moving up a few rows on the bleachers. She didn't seem to mind sitting alone as she sung aloud each song that was being played. Diana began wanting to party Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Friday and Saturday were enough for me. A lot of times she'd go get Judy, and would even offer to pay her way if Judy did not have any money. She didn't take long to come out of her sheltered life at all. She quickly learned to talk slang. I never was attracted to it and kept trying to perfect the English language I was still being taught. She joined others in calling me a square, but I didn't care. And there were certain things I did and others I absolutely would not do. And that was my choice, which neither her, Marcus, Trina, or Judy was going to change. All of the values I was taught hadn't completely escaped me, and I was working on the clothes trade issue, which my grandmother preached about. I think she was a much nicer young lady with her past manner of speaking. What could I say? She was living her life. One day we were over Diana's new short-term boyfriend's house. We began spending a lot of time over there, even stayed a few nights and went to school from there some mornings. He literally had his own bedroom out in the garage. He was a very stupid individual, was part of a thuggish gang, and wanted to see some action. Out of all the scribble on his wall, he pointed out to a gang of girl gorillas that I had written that they weren't shit. Unbeknown to us, one day when we knocked on his door, 3 of them were waiting for me. He let us in and quickly locked the door. The one most ugly led the way in fighting me for no reason other than what stupid ass told her. The other 2 gang members joined. Neither Diana or Audrey so much as lifted a finger to help me. Somehow I fought my way out of the garage and banged on his mother's door. When she opened it, I quickly flew inside without giving her a chance to invite me in. She worked the night shift and woke quickly at the terrifying sounds of my screams. She reprimanded her brainless son and gave us a ride to my house. She talked briefly to my mother, told her what happened, and went back home. We hung around the house the rest of the day. I wasn't going anywhere with my swollen face. All 3 of us were in my room later that night when Marcus came and threw pebbles. I refused to go to the window to talk to him. He and Diana communicated in whisper tone, and she told him what happened as quietly as she could so my mother, whose room was directly under my room, wouldn't hear her or be alerted that he was in the backyard. He begged her and telling me to come down, but I would not get up. She finally closed the window, and we were about to go to bed when that boy climbed his hard head up to my room again. He slid the window open and hopped right in. Never mind, I had company. Audrey and Diana could not believe their eyes. It was one thing when I told Diana, and quite another to actually witness his climb with her own eyes. I got out of bed and motioned him to the basement closet, closing the door so we could have some privacy. He kept asking me what happened and kept turning on the light so he could see my face. Each time I quickly turned it back off. I loved him for being so concerned. He claimed to still love me and could have really proved it if he would have gone and kicked those bitches' ass. He knew he was not supposed to be up there. I was tired from the long day and just wanted to go to sleep. After talking an hour or so, I told him I needed to go to bed, of which he would not be coming with me in that room. I quickly whisked him out of the door leading from the stairs and told him to come by in a few days. We kissed and he was gone. I never went over Diana's stupid boyfriend's house again. My mother told Judy what my two new friends did, and Judy acted like she had some room to talk. One day while we were all walking home from school, she stated that Diana wasn't a real friend because she failed to come to my defense during the fight, right in front of Diana. Defensively, Diana shouted, "You were no kind of friend either. You didn't do anything when those girls down the street jumped on her and you just stood there." This was the beginning of many arguments to come between them. Sometimes they actually got along. Back at school in my cooking class, there was a cute guy named William. One afternoon, while we were waiting for the bell to ring, I heard him comment to one of the fellows that he thought I was kind of cute. He didn't know I heard him, and I blushed all day. I told Diana that he was the cutest boy in the entire junior class. She studied the fact and couldn't come up with even one who looked better. He was a perfect tan color, tall, lean, and just looked good. He was also on the varsity basketball team. He had come a long way from how he looked when we attended Downer Junior High a few years earlier. It's amazing how a few pounds off can make you look like a completely different person. He must have been wearing contact lenses because his glasses were completely gone. He was a very handsome dude with every hair on his head perfectly in place. Later that day after we got home, Marcus was sitting on my front porch waiting. Diana, who liked trying to be funny, mentioned to him that I had a little crush on William. Marcus's eyes bucked as he listened to every detail, while I tried to hush her up. He could not believe that I could possibly think anyone of the opposite sex beside himself could be attractive. I don't know why he was being so insecure. He was still my cutie pie. He just couldn't get over. "You got a crush on William, ha ha ha," he kept teasing. My crush soon ended when I saw how mean-spirited he was. He had a very bad temper and treated that girl in my French class who was always keeping up with my grade like a piece of boo-boo. Word was out that she had slept with him, and he embarrassed her real ugly in front of his friends during lunch period one day. She was crying without him even touching her. He was still cute, but that temper of his was vicious. Going out became an absolute must with Diana. She wanted to party every single weekend as if there was nothing else to do. One time I promised Marcus, yes, I'll be home on Friday. I told Trina, yes, I'll babysit Snoopy on Friday, and had a long promised Diana that I would go to a party with her. She always made plans to go to a party even before we knew where it was going to be. She did that to block both Marcus and Trina from vacating my time that she felt should be exclusively spent at a party. Friday night came and all three of them were on my porch nagging me to keep my promise. I didn't know what to do but was tired of partying. I was worn out and needed to rest. Quick thinking led me to ask Judy if she would go out with Diana instead. She said yes and they left. Diana didn't care who went out with her to shake booty. She just didn't want to go alone. Next there was Marcus. He was enjoying me again and would not budge just so Trina could go out and have herself a good time. He wanted to have his own fun. I told Trina I would babysit and would soon be over. Marcus looked so disappointed and felt as though I'd left him out. I told him to come over when Trina left and we could babysit together. It all worked out. As soon as she left, he knocked on the door and we snuggled up on the couch looking at TV until a few minutes before midnight when their mother was due to arrive. He left seconds before she came and waited for me outside. As soon as she walked in, I told her that Snoopy was asleep and bid her good night. I met Marcus on my porch where he was waiting, wanting to steal away to that clubhouse of his. We were both tired and fell asleep in each other's arms until early in the morning. After completing my homework one day, we walked to 12th Street. Marcus had mentioned that his mother was out of town, and so I thought we'd nosy around the corner to have a little fun. Raymond had a red hoopty with doors that didn't lock. We sat in it waiting for Marcus and his friend to come outside. To my surprise, there were 3 neighborhood girls inside when they opened the door. One in particular who had a very serious crush on my Marcus. She thought somewhere in that twisted little mind of hers that she was going to take my Marcus away from me. I guess that is what she thought. She was infatuated with him 10 times more than I had been when I first met him. She was not going to steal my baby away from me. I had already claimed him, and there was nothing she especially would be able to do to change that fact. She wasn't even in the ring of competition, but she kept hoping. We exited the hoopty and went back around the corner. Diana was now a part of my life, and it looked like she was there to stay. Judy had been a part of my life for a few years, and it didn't look like she was going anywhere either. Most of the time, the two of them argued like cats and dogs. I always felt trapped in the middle. I cannot remember what would set it off, but it was stressful listening to them go at it, and even more tense as one stormed off breaking our companionship of whatever we were about to get into. I had to learn to be with them at separate times most days or nights. It just depended on how adamant they were about not being around each other. Both of them were strong-minded and bullheaded. Diana was verbally aggressive way before she left her aunt's house. Sometimes she and Marcus fussed. Well, she mostly fussed after he did something to make her mad. He was completely oblivious to her being angry with him. Diana and I gathered some money and purchased a yearbook at the end of the year. We went around seeing who could get the majority and the most popular signatures. She'd get one and allow me to read what was written, and I did the same to her. We got a kick out of what the teachers and students said to us. We were having a lot of fun. The faculty members sure gossiped. One of the security guards, who was also a big flirt, wrote in my yearbook, "Keep your mouth off other people's faces," referring to when I bit that girl earlier in the school year. He really liked her with his nasty self. I saw them leaned into each other so hard one time, it was shameful that they weren't in the bed. They were right there on the school grounds, nearly getting it on. It had been months since the fight, and my teeth prints were still visible on her face. The lovely Mrs. Joan Cone, who loved her rhyming name, wrote, "Tandy, you are much too intelligent of a young lady to be fighting. Stop it and keep writing." When I saw Marcus at home, I asked him to sign. His entry read, "To someone who lies a lot and steals." I left him an entire page to write his wonderful feelings of me, and those 8 words were all he scribbled. His youngest brother Kenny would tell me years later that there wasn't a liar on the face of this earth who lied more than Marcus. He referred to him as a conversationalist liar, said he didn't need a reason to lie, and that he strictly did it for the hell of it. He was still hanging on to when I stole his $2 doggy diner money. Years later, he'd get a kick out of bringing it up. I love you too, baby. On the last day of school, we got a ride to the other side of town to attend a party that was given in broad daylight. Another guy Diana was smitten by named KJ was there. Everybody seemed to have been. We danced in Soul Train style as everyone clapped after each song. Everybody was grabbing Diana, and she was having herself a ball with all of the attention she was getting. After the party was over, we hopped in KJ's station wagon and rode all over town, running in and out of every party going on. We were happy to be riding instead of having to walk all over town. Judy and Audrey were with us, and Judy and Diana were getting along for the moment. We didn't even bother going home that evening. We partied so hard. I was tired and crawled all the way to the rear of the wagon and literally rested as they continued going to the different parties. The next morning we went home and zonked out. School was finished and we had the whole summer ahead of us, even if we did have to attend summer session. When I saw Marcus later that day, he asked where I was the previous night. I told him I was partying with the girls. He wanted to go to his favorite spot, but I told him I was too tired to go anywhere. I sat on the porch with him for as long as my eyes could stay open. I then told him I was very sleepy and I was going straight to bed. We kissed goodbye and I went inside and crashed. On Monday morning, Diana, Judy, and I attended Contra Costa College, which was offering a college readiness program in lieu of traditional summer school. We obtained the same number of credits in addition to getting paid a stipend. It was right up our alley, as poor as we were. We needed every dime. It helped those who didn't get picked for the summer youth employment program. It was a good experience as some of us were planning to go to college after graduation. There was a psychology teacher who had a profound effect on some of the students who had plans to advance in life. He encouraged us to delve into our mind, seriously give thought as to what we were going to do with our future. What are you going to do after you graduate? He asked at the start of one session. Just about everyone replied, get my own apartment, as they relished in all of the fun they were going to have out of parents' presence. With a serious look of bewilderment on his face, he quickly followed up with, from where will come the money to pay rent, PG&E, water, food, etc., and so on? No one was quite prepared for all of these expenses that come along with the Freedom Apartment. He was a good psychology teacher who certainly made some of us think. How many times a week do you need love? He asked at the start of another class. All of the boys responded, at least 4 or 5 times, and high-fived each other. They definitely missed the mark and had confused love with sex like most men do. He was talking love from the heart. He nodded at the poor fellows as he broke it down to their level of comprehension. The class was 2 hours long, but as we'd get into our discussions, it always seemed 2 hours too short. He gave us a few books to help boost our vocabulary. Word Power Made Easy really helped advance my verbal communication. We got a little bolder with our partying once school was over for the week and began hopping on the bus to brave a teenage nightclub in Oakland called New Age. It was almost an hour bus trip, but we didn't care. We just wanted to party. I don't remember who told us about it, but we were filled with anxiety before we arrived. When we got there, it was just as it had been described, with spinning bright lights and a few dance floors. There were teenagers everywhere, and it looked like some of the guys who were way beyond teen years were out to have fun as well. We were all dressed in our party best. We danced the night away. Everyone was in a good mood. We were beside ourselves in the humongous crowd and tried not to lose one another after each dance. There was a mini snack bar serving soft drinks, and there was also a photographer taking pictures for $1. We just danced and danced. We did not want the night to end. We danced until the DJ told us to get out and go straight home. When it was time to leave, someone always wanted to take Diana with them, but we traveled in 4s, 3s, and sometimes 2s. That's where we drew the line. I belonged to Marcus on a regular basis, and none of them had found anyone special at that time, though Judy was still seeing Billy on occasion. If we couldn't find another party to go to, we went home. This has been Boyfriend, Teenage Love, written by Vella Jamar, narrated by Deja, Nance.